Today, we are going to talk about how you can buy a property in 2024. We are going to focus on 4 core topics. Topic number 1 is defining your negotiables and non-negotiables. Topic number 2 is how to work out what your maximum budget is based on your deposit and borrowing capacity. Topic number 3 will show you how to research your suburbs based on the criteria that you worked out in topic 1 and topic 2. And the final topic, do not make the mistake of waiting to buy property if you can afford to buy right now. Let's kick it off with topic 1, which is defining your negotiables and your non-negotiables. Have a think about what you really want from the property and the suburb. Write these points down and split them up into non-negotiables and negotiables. Examples of non-negotiables are those features that you will not budge on and are absolutely essential to the property purchase. For a home buyer, this may mean wanting a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom home because you're planning on having 2 to 3 kids down the track. This means the floor plan needs to already have 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms or have the ability to convert the floor plan into 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. And for an investor, you may be only able to afford an extra $100 a week to put towards your investment property. And to put it simply, this means you're going to need to find a rental property that will only cost you an additional $100 a week. Examples of negotiables are those features that are not necessarily deal breakers. For a home buyer, you may have found the perfect home, but it has an unrenovated bathroom. And although you want a renovated bathroom, you're happy to compromise. And because the property is at a cheaper price point, you can use those funds that you would have otherwise put towards the property to renovate the bathroom in the future. And for an investor, you may prefer a 4-bedroom home, but the 3-bedroom homes on the market will provide the rental return that you need in order to be able to sustain the cash flow and the investment property. It's time to work out what your maximum budget is based on your borrowing capacity and deposit. Let's start with your deposit. This is how much cash you have to put towards the property purchase. You then need to work out how much the banks are going to lend you. Banks will normally lend you between 80% and 90% of the purchase price. If you're buying a $500,000 property, 80% of $500,000 is $400,000. Now that's the amount that the banks will lend you, which means you have to come up with the $100,000 deposit. This setup is also known as an 80% loan to value ratio. And if we consider a 90% lend, 90% of $500,000 is $450,000. This means your deposit would need to be $50,000 and the LVR will be 90%. But there's also an additional cost that you need to factor in, and it's something that a lot of people don't realize they actually need to pay when buying a property. And this is stamp duty, which is a state-based tax, and the amount actually differs across each state and territory. Some states even have exemptions for first home buyers, and that's why it's important to do your research on stamp duty. But if we look at South Australia, which is where I buy properties for my clients, if we were to purchase a $500,000 property, the stamp duty will be around $26,000. And you also need to include an additional $2,000 for any conveyancing fees and any other charges. Stamp duty needs to be included on top of the deposit. And working in the property industry, I've heard a lot of stories where people have either won a property at the auction or their contract's gone unconditional and they didn't even know they had to pay the stamp duty. And this would be an extremely stressful situation because you've basically locked yourself into buying the property, you risk losing your deposit. Coming back to the example of purchasing a property in Adelaide, if we were to purchase a $500,000 property with an 80% LVR, this means you're going to need to come up with $128,000. And this is broken down by the $100,000 deposit, $26,000 for stamp duty, and the remaining $2,000 is for the conveyancer and other charges. What many people don't realize is that all the banks have different lending policies, which means they'll actually lend you different amounts even though your circumstances are exactly the same. And this is where the benefits of using a good mortgage broker comes into play, because they will have a list of lenders on their panel which they can assess based on your circumstances to work out which lender will provide you with the most amount of money. And perhaps the most important question you need to ask yourself is, will you be able to continue to afford the property if your income reduces or the mortgage interest rates increase, or absolute worst case scenario, both happen at the same time? Because did you know, if you have a $500,000 mortgage, you can expect to be paying an additional $1,200 every single month since the start of the interest rate hike cycle in May 2022. And that's a 52% increase in mortgage costs alone. Now we need to take all this information and find a suburb that suits your criteria. And the best way to do this is to jump onto realestate.com.au or domain.com.au. Click the sold section and input your criteria: 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a $500,000 budget across South Australia. When you start to see a common trend of suburbs popping up in your search results, input them into the search field and hit buy. And then keep scrolling and hopefully you will find a property that suits your criteria. And a bonus tip here, but you can actually call agents to see if they've got any upcoming listings heading to the market. And a little secret, this is basically what you need to do if you're looking for off-market property deals. But I'll save the discussion for how to snag an off-market property for a later video. And the best way to find agents that are selling in the area is when you're actually writing down the suburbs that you want to investigate. Take note of the agents selling the properties, because I can almost guarantee you're going to find a number that are constantly selling in that area. And those are the types of agents that you want to talk to, because they are likely to be the ones that are going to have a property that will suit your criteria in the future. Not all agents list on both platforms, so you do need to look at both realestate.com.au and domain.com.au to make sure you're looking at all your options. And the final topic, do not make the mistake of waiting to buy property if you can afford to buy right now. Property commentators are now predicting that Australian capital city prices are going to increase by up to 5% in 2024. This means if you're in the market for a $500,000 property, but you decide you're actually going to wait 12 months, you may be paying $525,000 for that exact same property. Or if property prices increase by 10%, you're likely to be paying $550,000 for the exact same property 12 months later. I hope this information provides you with a framework to help you get started on your property buying journey, and is certainly something that I wish I had when I first started buying property. And make sure to like and subscribe to my channel, because I really want to help as many people as possible buy a property in 2024.